Hi, everybody. It's Mrs. Haugen. Today we're going to read a story together, and it's one of my favorite books that we have in our reading curriculum. And it is a nonfiction book called Disaster Alert. So you can see here the cover of the book. I'm going to go ahead and turn. So I'm going to turn the page, and I'm going to actually have the book read some of this to you. They do a really good job of reading, and then you don't have to listen to my voice quite as often. But we start out here with the table of contents. Remember, we talked earlier in the school year about nonfiction text features, about different things that we find only in nonfiction text that help us understand the story, and in this case, help us find information. So here's another cover page.
Disaster Alert. Written by Christine Taylor Butler.
And there she is down there, her author's name. All right. I love this table of contents. Here we go.
Contents. Tornadoes. Page 4. Floods. Page 10. Sinkholes. Page 16. Volcanoes. Page 22. Bushfires. Page 28. Glossary and Index. Page 32.
We learned earlier in the year that table of contents are really great in nonfiction for going back to different sections of the book and not having to read every single page and every single section in order to find information. Okay, the first section that we're going to read today is all about tornadoes. So they show us the big overall heading called
Tornadoes.
And then the next part here, because it's underneath the main heading, this is what we call a subheading. And the subheading is...
What is a tornado? Tornadoes are the result of rotating thunderstorms. They form when warm air mixes with cold air and dry air. This creates a violent storm called a supercell. If the conditions are right, a supercell can produce a tornado without warning.
So everything that we read on that page is simply information telling us what a tornado is. So if you were to have a question that you needed to answer, asking, what is a tornado? This would be the perfect section to find that information. Next.
Tornadoes are dangerous because they move very fast. The average speed of a tornado moving along the ground is 30 miles per hour. Wind inside a tornado can reach speeds of more than 200 miles per hour. Most tornadoes occur in the United States. Tornadoes can last from several seconds to over an hour.
So the next little text section was about the speed of a tornado, just some more details. And the next section down here is we have a little cutout. And again, another text feature that we see here is this photograph. And it's a very sad photograph, actually.
Real life. May 22nd, 2011. One of the biggest tornadoes ever recorded hit the town of Joplin, Missouri. The strong winds destroyed the town.
Next page. So we have a new subheading here, and it is called
Studying Tornadoes. Scientists who study the weather are called meteorologists. They send out alerts when dangerous weather is spotted. Once a tornado is spotted, people have to find shelter immediately. Meteorologists use a scale to measure tornadoes. The scale measures the strength of the storm. An EF0 is the weakest tornado. An EF5 is the strongest.
And then this little section down here gives us a little more detailed information about each of those categories.
60 to 85 miles per hour. EF0. Light damage. Some roofs are damaged. Branches are broken off trees. 86 to 110 miles per hour. EF1. Moderate damage. Parts of roofs are peeled off. Windows are broken. Some tree trunks are snapped. 111 to 135 miles per hour. EF2, considerable damage. Roofs are torn off, large trees are uprooted, mobile homes are destroyed.
One thing that's really important to remember about nonfiction is I have some kids that always ask, do I have to read this? And my answer is always yes. Every little section that they have, even if it doesn't look like a big amount of text, is always going to help you understand the story. Now on to our next page.
Job profile. Storm chasers follow severe weather. They carry special equipment called probes. Probes are placed in the path of the storms. The probes measure wind speed and direction. They also measure temperature, humidity, and air pressure. This information is stored in a black box.
And this black box that they show here in this teeny tiny photograph,
probe,
is called a probe. And we'll go down to the bottom. So this is a continuation of the other page that we saw of the diagram at the bottom.
136 to 165 miles per hour. EF3, severe damage. Small buildings are destroyed. Roofs and some walls are torn off well-built houses. 166 to 200 miles per hour. EF4, devastating damage. Well-built houses are destroyed. Large objects are lifted into the air. Cars are blown around. Over 200 miles per hour. EF5, incredible damage. Cars are lifted into the air. Well-built houses are flattened and swept away.
Can you imagine how scary that could be? How devastating that would be for a family whose cars were lifted and blown away, whose houses were completely destroyed? That is so much damage. All right, I'm going to continue, maybe. There it is. All right, the next section that we have here is surviving a tornado.
Surviving a tornado. This dog was rescued after a tornado struck Oklahoma City.
So we have this little photograph along with this bigger photograph in the background. So as you're listening to this bottom section, also be thinking and looking to see how this text and this photograph kind of work together to help you understand.
After a tornado, emergency workers look for survivors. They use specially trained dogs to help them. People are taken to the hospital. Pets are taken to a shelter. Tornadoes often break power lines and destroy buildings. After a tornado, power must be restored. Damaged buildings must be cleared away. It can take years to fix all the damage.
The next part that we have here is a different section about how to survive. And I'm curious as to what this does. Let's watch. The directions here say, what are some of the things you would need when making an emergency disaster kit? There's some options on the bottom. So after we listen to this right here about how to survive, as you're listening, I want you to think about which of these objects would you need in an emergency disaster kit. So let's listen carefully.
How to survive. It's important to have the correct equipment and be prepared. When a tornado strikes, have a flashlight and batteries ready. Stay away from windows. Find shelter underground. If you can't go underground, hide under a staircase. Protect yourself from flying objects.
And at the bottom here, we have another text box I'll play.
Did you know? Water spouts are tornadoes that form over water.
Cool. So now that we've listened to how to survive, let's think here about which of these objects are necessary for an emergency disaster and which are not. So, a radio, that's very possible. You might not have any electricity. You might need this battery-powered radio. How about these blankets? If you were in an earthquake or after a tornado, I think a blanket could be really important. Oh, it gave us a check. You just can't see it there. Extra water, yes or no? Absolutely, we would need extra water. Flowers, yes or no? They're beautiful, but I don't think we're going to need them in an emergency situation. How about a spare flashlight? Yes or no? Absolutely. A flashlight could be very helpful. And this looks like a little handheld video game, like a Game Boy. Yes or no? Now, as much fun as that would be, that is not something that we must have in an emergency. And shoes. Yes or no? I don't know that you would need extra shoes, but according to this, having a good pair of shoes, or extra shoes around, is also a good idea. So let's take a look at our text here. So, that was the last one I was going to watch for you today. So that was the last page in our tornado section. So now your job is to go back to your Classkick and find the slide where I did a screenshot and answer the question about the tornado section on Classkick. I hope you enjoyed the tornado section. I will talk to you soon.